You know what? That'll get you hyped up. I don't know what will. Welcome back to another episode of And Now for Something a Little Bit Different. As you can guess, we're going to be talking about Shoresy again, Season 2. First and foremost, thank you to each and every one of you truly who had stopped by, gave us a watch, gave us a listen to that episode. Really, you don't know how much it means to us that you guys did that and stopped by. So to start off season 2, let's go behind the camera. Let's talk about those who are really involved in this, just for me, a gem of a comedy and out of Canada. So again, Shoresy was created, written by, and stars Jared Keeso. We talked about him back in the episode about season 1. So if you want some more details, please go back, take a listen. The director for season 1 and season 2, you heard me mention the name before, Jacob Tierney, Pastor Glenn in Letterkenny, that series, hilarious series. He's also one of the producers on the show, one of many. The visionary of how he wants to put this show together and show it on screen. The director, fantastic job. And of course, in Shoresy season 2, he reprises his role of Benny, the sports color commentary. He throws a line out there. I'll get into it later, but he talks about how it looks like the pork's tenderloins. As you may have noticed with the intro this time, right? It wasn't so much a joke. It was so much about the music and just how hype it is when it gets into some of these hockey scenes. This show truly embraces music to really get that emotion, get those feelings stirred for whatever is being shown at that time, right? Be it a hockey match, be it a get together, be it at a bar scene, be it at a party. Very few shows can really get it done. Shoresy, these guys are magic. So with that, Jason Pereira and Cody Partridge, Jason and Cody, wow, season 2, it's just something else magical. Now, what I mentioned behind the scenes, so Jared Keeso, writer, creator, this guy, thank goodness he left Hollywood behind him because this guy is coming up with some crazy ideas where news had just dropped recently where he is writing, and I think they just finished or started principal photography on his new show called I Kill the Bear. And some names are going to be that you've seen or that I talk about or that you noticed, whether they were in Letterkenny or Shoresy, they're going to make a surprise appearance. So stay tuned. So with that really brief behind the camera listing, let's go talk about our cast. Now, if you have not yet seen our episode on season 1, please pause this video, go back and watch that episode because I really go into detail with this list of the cast that I'm going to talk about. There's a few names I'm going to go in a little bit more in depth with, but I think it's always, of course, these are the primary casts. Of course, we start with Jared Keeso, Shoresy, Tassia Tallis as Nat. Again, she's the owner. She's been a longtime friend of Shoresy's. She works with Migwan and Zigwan. Migwan being played by Kylene Elizabeth Rose, and Zigwan being played by Blair Lamora. Of course, got to talk about my man Sanguinet, played by Harlan Blaine Kitewayhat. Kitewayhat as Sanguinet, he has his moments in this show, and season 2 really comes to fruition for his character. It's really great to see. We got Ryan McDonald as Michaels, the goalie, the guy who's a little pretentious, and we're going to talk about his love interest a little bit more in detail. He really has the weak knees for a certain somebody. We got Max Bouffard as JJ, Frankie JJ, Pride of Quebec, loves the ladies. Unfortunately, in this season, his love for the ladies comes to bite him right in the ass. Terry Ryan as Ted Hitchcock, where if you said his name fast enough, it sounds like 10 inch cock. You got Jonathan Ishmael Dybee as Dolo. His character, him and Goodies really play a pivotal role in this season. And speaking of Goody, we're going to have to talk about Andrew Ansonin. Again, playing Goody. Really comes up with some stuff. Remember, he thinks chicken is unbelievable. Within season 2, there are actors and actresses that we need to talk about because one of them truly does have an impact on the Bulldogs' future. One has an, I guess you could say, emotional well-being of Shoresy. So first and foremost, Jacob Smith. He plays the character Fish. He was born and raised in Sudbury. He was drafted at 16 to come play in a premier adult hockey league. So once again, actors who actually have hockey experience. As a matter of fact, one of the teams he actually played for as he was growing up is a team that we talked about in season one. He played for the Sioux Hunt of Ontario. Go figure. And he was actually invited or asked by a friend to come join him and his friend in Truro, Nova Scotia to play for the Truro Bearcats. The Truro Bearcats, their season that he went and played kind of mirrors what we're going to talk about in season two, to the point where he scored over 30 goals that season. They won it, went to a national tournament afterwards. And it's just amazing to hear him describe the parallel between that life experience and season two. And then COVID hit, shut everything down. He put down his skates. He hung up his skates, put down his stick, and he went to France to attend university. When he got back, because of the connections he made, he was often one of those folks that would get a call for, hey, we need somebody to fill this role in this show called Letterkenny. Yeah. When they were filming the hockey scenes, Jacob was kind of like a consultant, referring names to who could come in and fill those roles that they needed for the hockey scenes. The crazy part is this, the person that he was talking to often about, who could fill those roles, was a good friend of his. And she ended up calling him saying, hey, we got this show we're going to be casting for. Would you want to come in and do it? Jacob went in to interview to be one of the Appledorns. He didn't get the part. He, moved on with life, and he eventually, to his credit, he got married to his longtime girlfriend. Shortly after he got married, he got a call from one of the many producers on Shoresy and said, hey, listen, this actor that we had to play this part of Fish, he didn't work out. Jared saw your interview tape, and he really liked what he saw, and he thinks you could fit in that role. He was like, hold on, I gotta go talk to my mom and dad. Click. What? To his credit, he did say, if I knew then what I knew now, it would have been like, yes. So he called the producer back and said, hey, I got all these questions. And the questions, it was a very amicable conversation, and everything sounded legit. And he was like, okay, I gotta go talk to my mom and dad again. I'll talk to you back. He goes to talk to his family one last time, fills them in on the details, and they're like, what are you waiting for? So he finally calls her back up and says, yes, I will. And they ended up picking him up to play Fish. They put him up in the Radisson Hotel, I believe they said, with his wife, because again, he just got married, and the rest is history. And in season 2, Jacob Smith brings Fish to life. He plays an integral part in the Bulldogs' future. Next up, we have Camille Sullivan, who plays Laura Moore. She is a sports reporter covering the Bulldogs in Sudbury, but she's also the gal, the lady for Shoresy, to the point where their interactions, God, I hate to be cliche in the sense of saying, it's so freaking cute to see them talk and interact, because as I said, Shoresy has these quirks about him where he'll ask a question and immediately go, huh? She has him so pegged, she knows exactly when he says it and says it in sync. Now, Camille Sullivan she's a TV actress, she's a movie actress, and she's I think she's a really, really, really good actress. She's played in one of my favorite shows, Battlestar Galactica, the 90s remake. Remember, Ryan McDonald was on there. She had a recurring role, I believe it was a Canadian show called The Da Vinci's Inquest. She ended up doing a movie in 2020 called Hunter x Hunter. It's kind of like a psychological thriller / horror. Yeah, that movie's messed up. She really shows that she can take care of her business. And just real quick about that movie, it's a movie about a family who lives off the grid. They find some trouble when they find a hurt stranger out in the woods. And that's all I'm going to say. I believe on Canopy is where you can watch that for free. And again, about other movies, I don't know how many people have seen it. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but it could have been better. Anyone remember the movie with Ashton Kutcher and Amy Smart, The Butterfly Effect? Next up, we're going to talk about, yeah, she's a cutie pie, Michaela Brasser, who plays Pam. Pam is a hostess waitress. She works at a little joint that the boys went to quite a bit. The place is called Pepe Panini. So, real quick, Pepe Panini is actually a restaurant, and the owner and his wife of Pepe Panini, they were in Letterkenny. Tyson J. Burton, him and his wife own that joint. How nuts is that? So back to Michaela. She played. She's a TV actress primarily. She's done a lot of shows. A couple of the highlights were, and I apologize if I'm missing some, but I think the highlight right now for her career is she played a part in A Handmaid's Tale. So she plays the character of Pam, who is the love interest of Hitchcock. He made his rounds, but there's something about Pam. He really wants to really, get to know her, and court her, and develop a relationship with her. I understand. She's a cutie pie. Lastly, going in depth to our cast for season 2, we have Alina Jones, who plays Mercedes. Now, Alina Jones is a TV actress, but I believe she's also a very popular Instagram model. She's got the looks. She's the love interest of Michael's. Matter of fact, in season 1, they have a relationship. She finally got bored, took all his shit, and left him with just a mattress on the ground and his goalie pads. Mercedes is, let's just say, what she wants, she has a tendency to get. Now, Eliana Jones has been in, some very popular series, Hemlock Grove, that I believe ran 4 years. So she had a recurring role in there. She did an episode on the CW with Supergirl. And then she had like a recurring role on a Canadian TV series, I believe another drama called Northern Exposure. Oh, correction. Northern Rescue. Now, I teased it earlier that Jared Keeso was working on a new series called I Killed a Bear. You can probably figure out the reason why I'm talking about it now is because Alina Jones, she's going to be there. So now that we've talked, again, very briefly, probably too briefly, from behind the camera, the cast, and even a little bit more detailed cast listing, we're going to get right into season 2 because season 2 was just wow. For a comedy series, it's probably one of the better seasons in most comedy shows. Well, they pick right up from the last episode in season 1 where Nat is challenging Shoresy. If I keep this team together, what are you going to do? The end result is he put the time and the effort in. And at the end of season 1, they had just lost to the Sioux Hunt, Ontario. So the only time they're going to see them again, and their last shot was to get in, to go to the playoffs. Well, what's revealed is that not only did they go to the Nationals, but they swept the finals. They were the champions for that year. It was it was something I wish they would have shot. They should have put on. Oh, it would have been great. But alas, hey, is what it is. So even though that they had just won that championship title, the next season rolled around. The Bulldogs go on a 20-game winning streak. A 20-game heater, they call it. The crazy part about that is that's 20 games out of 24 for the season. They got 4 more games they have to win. And the challenge is presented to them, right? Are they going to be the best team that year? Or are they going to become the best team ever? There's a problem. I don't know if it's a bad problem to have, but I guess when it's part of a team sports, it is a potential liability. Well, let's just say, as Shoresy puts it, they're hammering too much ass. They're playing a period between the sheets. They don't have enough juice to last 3 total periods. So while Shoresy and Sanguinet are talking to Nat, Meeg, and Zeeg about, the problem of hammering too much ass, it's revealed that the team is going to have a sexy calendar, featuring all the primary players, the studs of the Bulldogs. To which Shoresy warns them, Nat, that calendar's gonna bite us in the ass one day. So episode 1 kind of begins this whole season by just showing how close things can be when the Bulldogs go to face Timmins Timber Kings. And they beat them before, the previous year. But this year is something different because, again, you're on a 20 game win streak, right? You're going for win number 21. It's a rough matchup. But in the end, of course, the Bulldogs prevail 2-0. Shoresy in season 1 is trying to get the team to hate to lose. It's much worse now that they're on top. He is twice as chirpy, twice as in their face about winning. Even though they won 2-0, that's not good enough for Shoresy. And the worrisome part is, as it's revealed by Nat, Zieg, and Meeg, as they approach the end of this current season, they have to face the Sioux Hunt. Oh no, not the Sioux Hunt of Ontario, the Sioux Hunt from Michigan, USA. They're more worried about this Sioux Hunt team than they were of Sioux Hunt, Ontario. What does that tell ya? All right, season 2, episode 2 opens up with, I guess you could say a scene you see in most like romantic comedies. Here's Shoresy. There's Laura Moore. They're having breakfast. Oh, in a restaurant. She's talking to him, trying to get a quote about the upcoming game against the Sioux Hunt. She's trying. She's not succeeding because Shoresy again is it's really endearing. As rough and crass as he is very kind and gentle and soft around the edges with Laura. I mean, and the dialogue, you're seeing, Shoresy trying to butter up and sweet talk Laura, but as an example of his sweet talk, he just looks at her and goes, "You ever meet somebody and they look so good, you just go, yeah, I'm serious. If they look so good, you just go, all right." Laura basically says, "I'm not going to get that quote, am I?" So she gets up to leave. She stops and then she basically asks, "What do you really say about me, Shoresy? I think you're one of the most strongest, kindest, nicest, beautiful ladies in Sudbury." Pretty smooth for Shoresy. Next up, you see Shoresy again. If you thought he was bad at, when the team was at the bottom, now that the team is at the top, Shoresy is much worse. They're in the gym, they're all working out. Shoresy is chirping at everybody. He's not letting anybody go, especially fish. Then all of a sudden, Sanguinette comes into the gym, says, "Hey, Shoresy, Nat needs to see us now." They learn from Nat and Meeg and Zieg that Frankie JJ, he's going to do a shoot all by himself for the Sudbury gay community. For money, of course. They're doing this because they're raising all these funds for the calendar and JJ's calendar to make a bid at the national tournament to host it at Sudbury. Next up, we see JJ doing the photo shoot. However, like I said, Frankie JJ, he's a ladies' man. And wow, does he somehow snag some of the most desirable women in Canada, in Sudbury. The problem is, Laurence Leboeuf, she's still his girlfriend. Dude's playing with fire. Guys, don't do that. Reminds me of the time my son asked me, "Hey, Dad, have you ever dated 2 chicks at one time?" "Yeah." "How do you do it?" "You lie a lot." "Well, Dad, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can lie." "Then don't date 2 girls at once." I mean, it's kind of that situation that JJ's in. So episode 2 winds down where we see the Sioux Hunt arrive a day early. They arrive to the ice rink early to do, for those who know in sports or kind of anywhere that you might have heard the term visualizing, right? They're playing, they're doing a mental game where they're making a movie in their head of how things are going to go and how smooth it's going to be, and it's going to psych them up and get them mentally prepared. I don't know if it works or not. Frankly, I don't believe it. Episode 3 opens up, I think, in a most relatable moment for those who have played sports. The camera doing a slow pan around a tour bus, Sioux Hunt's bus, and then we see Shoresy. Shoresy's pissing on the Sioux Hunt's bus. Then the scene switches over, and we're back in Nat's office with Meeg and Zieg, with Shoresy and Sanguinette. And this time, instead of delivering some bad news or, coming down on Shoresy for whatever reason or whatever he did this time, they got intel to dish about one of the members on the Sioux Hunt team, Delaney. Nat and Zeke revealed to Shoresy that Delaney was at their local, unless you could say, strip club on an all-night coke bender. They asked Zeke, how do you guys know all this? Zeke goes, because I was there, which plays upon the character fact of Ziguan. She is a lesbian, except she has a penchant for Dolo for some reason. It's interesting. So as they go into it further, they reveal, yeah, not only did he, spend all this time with this one dancer doing coke, he didn't get out of the club until like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, still doing coke. Which again, kids don't do drugs, but it plays into the fact that Shoresy is definitely gonna use this info when he sees them on the ice as they do the warm-ups. The Bulldogs are on the ice, the Sioux Hunt from Michigan are on the ice, and Shoresy is just chirping at Delaney hard. He's like, oh, it's so good to breathe through my nose. Hey, Delaney, can you breathe through your nose? What's going on? He cut to another scene. Shoresy takes some of the ice shavings from the skates on the rink, takes it on his hockey stick, and he holds it up to Delaney and goes, does that look familiar? Is that familiar to you, Delaney? Huh? Chirping him so hard that one of the other players comes over and says, Shoresy, leave him alone. You better leave him alone. I think it was Palmer as the character. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But he's like, oh no, come on. Hey, guess what? The cops are coming. Let's go. Come on, the cops. Let's go. I mean, it's just hilarious chirping. So after warm-ups, they're, of course, back in the locker room, dressed up, ready to go. Sanguinet starts calling the lineup, right? Goody, are you ready to go? Yeah. Ooh. It's really cool to see. But then Sanguinet gets to the gyms. He goes, Jim, you ready? Yeah. And immediately Shoresy pops his head around the toilet stall and he calls Jim number 2, are you ready? And he just nods his head. Doesn't even speak, just nods his head. And Shoresy's going, what the hell is going on here? Goes to the third gym. Jim, are you ready? Yeah, Sanguinet. Shoresy has this look of bewilderment on his face. The 3 gyms, again, I talked about it in season 1, in season 2. Matter of fact, all the seasons, let's just go and get it out of the way. They're the ones that set the tone. Who you're going to mess with? Not us, because we're setting the tone. We're going to beat you. And sure enough, the game starts. The gyms immediately get on the ice and go to the Sioux Hunt, Michigan's enforcer, Palmer. Palmer whoops their ass. The Bulldogs are kind of like in shock. The gyms aren't the gyms. What's going on? They head back to the locker room, right? They're going into the third. They're going to be facing the Sioux Hunt down 2-3. They basically approach Fish. He was scoring a goal for them almost every game, but then suddenly stopped scoring, right? And they're getting on him about it, right? To the point like, how many goals did you score last game? 0. And the game before that? 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 0. Sanguinet and Shoresy in front of the team tell him, you need to score or we're going to cut you. What good is having a scorer if they're not scoring? You want to talk about pressure? Wow. Holy shit. So they go to the third period. It is a tough battle, right? But it's not until the last seconds does Fish score a goal. And then at the bare minimum, I think it was like 9 or 6 seconds left in the period, Fish hits a nasty slap shot to take the Bulldogs up 4-3. 22 games in a row. 22 game heater. Thanks to Fish. He comes back into the, after, of course they celebrate on the ice, but as they're going back to the locker room, Shoresy and Sanguinet's like, well, how's it feel now, Fish? And Fish lets him know, man, that's messed up. Don't ever do that to me again. And then he just walks past him into the locker room where the rest of the team is just spraying beers all over him in celebration. So after the game, Zeke comes in and says, Shoresy, Nat needs you right now. So he goes sees Nat. And what Nat reveals to him is that, hey, we need to get some more bums in the seats. We need more people to attend, and we're going to target we want more kids to show up to the hockey game. So they lined up an interview with YouTuber. His name is Jory Jordan, who's played by McLean Fish. Kid you not, that's his name, McLean Fish. Shoresy does an interview, and this Jory is one that just likes to needle him with some questions that are just obvious setups. Like, does your girlfriend know you masturbate in the shower? You don't answer that question because it's a bad question. We open up season 2, episode 4, with the team calling a players only meeting, except Sanguinette's there. He's the coach, but he was also a former team member, so they figure it's all right. The topic of discussion, of course, is the gyms. What they find out is that the gyms have been losing trivia based game with teams called Reach for the Top. The reason why they're not doing so well at Reach for the Top now is because one of their teammates, it's not funny, but it's funny because of the show. One of their teammates got shanked by one of the prisoners roster. So they're down a man. And of course the boys are like, well, hey, can we join you? Gyms agree. So this players only meeting basically devolves around to, well, let's just put it this way, right? They're going to, Shoresy says, let's just cut to the chase right now. Who here is dumb? Half the players raise their hand like, well, that settles that now, don't it? To kind of weed out who's gonna join the gyms. They do a trivia game, and Sanguinette is just, whipping out questions, to which, oh my gosh, this is one of the funniest scenes in this whole season because it just really, truly reveals, or just how dumb Hitchcock is. It is, to the point where one of the questions is, what Nova Scotia condiment is made with sea salt, heavy cream, and garlic? Hitchcock goes, oh, creamy garlic. And they hammer him. It's like, it's Donair. How do you not know it's Donair? And Goody is just going, so fucking dumb. And Dolo's just cussing at him in French. It is absolutely hilarious. Patrons, these ladies are laughing their asses off. In the end, it is Michael's because apparently he does have a brain. The guy's very smart for a goalie. So while this was all going on, we cut to JJ's photo shoot, his solo calendar for the gay community. This whole episode, he's like checking his phone. He's not hearing back from all his side chicks. Cut to another scene where, it's revealed that all his girlfriends, including Laurence Leboeuf, go onto this like daytime talk show to talk about Frankie. Basically, he's been busted. So even with all of that going on, the Bulldogs have a match. They have a game they got to go play. They got to play against the Michigan Norsemen. Bulldogs do not like this team whatsoever. They are a bunch of showboaters, hot doggers, they would say. Fans of the Dipsy Doodle, which is a shot where, I don't know if you don't watch hockey, I apologize, but it's so imagine they take a hockey stick, right, and the puck is up laying flat on the ice. Well, they twirl their stick and the puck at the same time so that when they lift it up, the puck is on the blade, right? So they can just basically throw it in or try to throw it in past the goalie. So the Bulldogs are up, but the next thing you know, one of the Michigan Norsemen players, in the show they call him McPherson, well, he definitely goes to hot dog mode, right? He tries that dipsy doodle where he spins and tries to pick up the puck and throw it past Michaels. Shoresy especially tells him, you try it again, I'm going to hurt you bad. Play a few more minutes. They have a shot. The Michigan Norsemen do. Here's McPherson again. Tries that dipsy doodle shot. And as they're skating up, McPherson's talking smack, giving instructions to his team, turns his back on the Bulldogs bench. Bad move. Next thing you know, Shoresy, you see him skate out onto the ice. Bam! Nasty cross check with his hockey stick shaft right across his helmet, and McPherson goes down. And that's I said earlier this episode where you hear Benny go, oh, it looks like the porky tenderloins, and that episode ends. Episode 5 picks up. Shoresy goes and grabs McPherson while he's laid sprawled out on the ice and he's bleeding. There's blood on the ice. And he's dragging McPherson back to the bench. Once he gets him back to the bench, the rest of the Bulldogs, it's just like piranhas, right? They get in and just start to whooping his ass. I mentioned it earlier how the music really plays a part of this show. And even though it's a weird song to be playing at that time, the song that was playing, A Girl Like You by the Trogs. I want to be with a girl like you. Ba-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na. And if you don't recognize that song, I know for sure almost all of you know this song by the Trogs. Wild Thing, I Think I Love You. Yeah, if you don't know, holy. So of course, after this whole debacle, the Bulldogs won 23 game heater. Shoresy, of course, Shoresy and Sanguine get called the Nat's office, where Nat tells him he's got to go before the no-show board again. And this time he's facing possible suspension. So while Nat, Meeg, and Zeeg are giving Shoresy heat, Shoresy lets out, if I'm wailing on it and there's no internet, I think about Dennis. It's like, what in the world? Then he reveals even further. He thinks all 3 board members are hot. Nat also lets them know that, hey, the gay community, after they did the calendar, they wanted to have a little event for JJ to make an appearance, and they're willing to pay $1,000. To which Nat says, you know what? If we're going to make money off my players, we're going to have it at my bar, the Colson, and we're going to call it the Man Experience. We're going to invite the gay community out and all these people, and we're just going to make as much as possible because they're getting closer to that final dollar figure to host the national tournament in Sudbury. The magical number, just so you know, is 50 grand, and they're like at 40 grand now. So after Nat gives them all that news, the boys meet up at Pepe Panini, where Shoresy and Sanguine had try to explain how JJ has an appearance, to which some of them go, what does that mean? Holy! Michaels comes in and he takes a seat and he's like, hey guys, I just went to go see Mercedes. Remember that favor they did us in season 1? Yeah, they're calling it in now. Michaels and Sanguinette go to meet Mercedes at their place. And I think they don't really expressly say it. I think Mercedes is kind of like a crime boss there. What she reveals is that this favor isn't for me. It's for my brother, Angelo. She has 2 brothers, Angelo and Luca. They say they're the scariest looking guys in Sudbury. Hey, look, there they are. So Mercedes, tells them, hey, look, the Polichettis did a favor for you. Now you're going to do a favor for the Polichettis. Well, we understand that the Colson is having the Man Experience. Angela wants to get in. She tells them, great, you know what? I will have a limo. I will pick you at 8 o'clock and you better be there. From there, we pick it up where Nat, Megan Zeeg, and Shoresy are in front of the no-show board with Dennis, Aki, and Nina. After reviewing everything, they keep it kind of short and brief, and they let Shoresy know that he's suspended for the remainder of the season. They're like, what? They know that they are on a 23 game heater. They got one more game to go for a perfect season. That sets Nat off a little bit. Dennis, Aki, and Nina are trying, telling them that, hockey's changing, right? It's not about brute force anymore. It's about finesse and speed and these trick shots. Nat's not having any of that. He's like, no, the players police their own. And we're going to keep hockey the way hockey has been played. Dennis, Aki, and Nina are just staring at her like, how dare you? Right? They don't say anything, but they're like looking at her like piercing right through her. And then Nat goes, and Shoresy thinks you're all sexy. Oh, their frowns went upside down, right? They're smiling like, oh, really? Is that true? Or she just goes, I would love to meet your husbands so I can shake their hands and buy them a beer. Gave like one of the coolest compliments to them, like, I am jealous of your husbands. They reversed their decision. They tell Nat, you've got the highest attendance. You're on a 23 game heater. Beat the Americans. Because guess who they're facing? That's right, Sioux Hunt, Michigan. The Man Experience begins. We see the boys leaving Shoresy's apartment. All this time, so a little bit background, rewind just a little bit. Since JJ got caught, nobody could get him out of his room. Nobody could see him. Nobody knew where he was at. Mercedes is like, where's JJ? We don't know. You hear, hello. They turn around, and here comes JJ walking arm in arm with Laurence Leboeuf. Laurence explains to them that, you know what? JJ is a good man. He just needed to be humbled. Hence the TV show airing out that dirty laundry about him. They all pile into Mercedes' limo and they head to the Colson. I don't know how many of you have been to dance clubs, playing house music, dance tracks, electro beats and all that good stuff. And it's just the music, the electric, you just can't help but feel alive as you're, in there. And that's what these last 5 minutes, again, the music in this episode plays such a huge part because you feel it, right? You see it with everyone dancing and having a good time. JJ walks in with Laurence LeBoeuf, Sieg, Meeg, Dolo, Hitch, Goody, Michaels, Angelo is there, Mercedes. They're all dancing and having a good time as Shoresy's dancing, and I guess he's doing the jogger. He's like, he looks over, and at the bar is Laura Moore, and he just cracks a big old grin and just keeps dancing. Then it flips. Out back of the club, out back of the Colson, Laura and Shoresy are sitting and talking. Laura eventually calls a cab and says, "Are you coming?" Well, remember, the original problem was teams hammering too much ass. And basically what we see at the end of this episode, episode 5, is Laura staring at Shoresy and Shoresy staring right back at her. Episode 6. But the show opens up with a little flashback to when the guys were doing the calendar shoot. What we see is the guys are lined up. Goody's up there trying to take his picture. Shoresy walks in. And holy, he has one of the worst spray tans you've ever seen. I'm talking about, let's put it this way. Michael says it right. It's like, how is that color even an option? It shouldn't exist. Goody's like, looks like you ate a Oompa Loompa's mitt. Sanguinet goes, you look like the tip of Chester Cheetah's dick. It's so, and all this time they're like, why did you get a spray tan? Nat, Zig, and Meeg. And he's like, well, if I'm doing a sexy calendar shoot for a bunch of hot broads, they'd want, guys with a spray tan. Nat says, all right, boys, go get a spray tan, come back, take your tarps off, get oil down so we can do this shoot. So after that flashback, it cuts back to present day where, from the last episode, it left off with Laura asking Shoresy if he wants to come home with her, right? And Shoresy's like, I can't do it. Well, why? Well, then we go to another flashback where he is there back in the apartment with the boys, specifically Dolo and Goody, and Shoresy's telling him, and basically asking the guys, for one night, can you not hammer ass? We cut back to Shoresy visiting his foster family. They're giving the hugs goodbye. They're all wishing Shoresy good luck. One of the sisters had mentioned that they're really proud of Shoresy. They had wished he had somebody that he could share that success with. And that kind of got to Shoresy a little bit because earlier in the season, even though I didn't mention it, Michaels made the comment about it's not success unless you have someone to share it with. He ends up back at Laura Moore's place. Next thing you know, she leads him upstairs, and you guys can fill in the blanks from there. Then we cut to the Bulldogs. They're loading up their gear. It's an away trip. What we see in the locker room as the boys are getting ready to take the ice is the gyms stepping up saying, we've come a long way this season. Face a lot of adversities. Before he could finish, everyone starts recounting and stuff where Shoresy says, hey, Dolo, Goody, did you guys hammer ass? No. And everyone starts cheering and celebrating. They're like, all right, we got legs. And Shoresy's excited. He's like, it's only for one night. I mean, after tonight, you can go back to hammering all the ass you want. It's great. And then Jim interrupts him again. It's like, I'm not finished. Shoresy says, oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Please continue. And the Jims, all three of them look up. Jim number 3 says, we're going to set the tone. We're going to hurt Palmer real bad. Sports, in a hockey match, they do a lot of formalities. So the Sioux Hunt, because they are hosting, they decide that they're going to do something nice. They're going to plan a special introduction to which, as they are starting to take the ice, the Bulldogs, what they see is their calendar pictures displayed everywhere as they're calling out each one of their names. To which Hitch says, well, you said that calendar will come to bite us in the ass. Even Goody, when he comes out, for fuck's sake. The other special treat that the Sioux Hunt planned for the Sudbury Bulldogs was they had a young little man play the Canadian national anthem with his recorder. This little kid, he starts butchering, Leatherface Jason Freddy Krueger butchering the Canadian national anthem. The one thing that you got to know about Shoresy is every time they play the Canadian national anthem, he cries. Well, this little kid and the way he is just destroying, just absolutely disrespectfully killing and pooping on the Canadian national anthem. Yeah, Shoresy, yeah, you see it. Shoresy is about to lose his ever loving mind. Sure enough, immediately as soon as the game starts, the Bulldogs switch 3 players. All 3 gyms come out, go straight to Palmer, and they give him a red-headed stepchild ass whooping. Put Palmer out of the game. Of course, because they did that, all 3 gyms got ejected. They have officially set the tone. I hate to keep saying it, but the music is something else. They play a song called Your Man. The artist's name is Joji. He's half Japanese, half Australian. It's an amazing dance track. And it really kind of fits the scene. Again, it's 0-0 as we're going through. They cut away to the doors and in walks Laurence Leboeuf. Frankie JJ looks up, sees her. He's just smiling. He goes off. Bam! Slap shot. Bulldogs up 1-0. Sue Hunt, unfortunately, answer back. First period ends, game 1 apiece. We got 40 hard miles, 40 minutes to go, fellas. Sanguinet's hyping them up. Let's go. Let's do this. And they go out to play the second period. So as the second period is starting to wind down, right, Hitch is on the bench, and then all of a sudden it cuts back to the entrance doors. Here comes Pam. Man, such a cutie pie. He gets on the ice. Wham! Slap shot. Bulldogs up 2-1. Unfortunately, the Sioux rally. They respond back. It's now 2-2. Cuts to Shoresy on the bench. Then it cuts to the entrance door. Here comes Laura Moore walking in. So you kind of see the trend, right? Guys sees their girls. They go out and they score. Shoresy hits the ice. He nut checks Delaney. He just takes his hockey stick. Wham! Right between the legs. Is the end of the second period. 2-2. Back to the locker room. In the locker room, Shoresy. It's kind of a powerful moment for a comedy show. Again, if you've played any type of sports or any type of team-oriented event, right, be it esports, darts, cornhole, Shoresy enters the locker room, right, Sanguinet's, hyping him up. 20 more miles, guys, 20 more miles. Shoresy goes right up to Dolo and Goody, takes a knee, like, you guys ready? We need you here. We need you bad. Dolo just says, let's fucking go, Shoresy. Oh. As the third period is about to start, Michael is watering down, trying to stay cool. It's lots of pads, right? It's hot. Cut away to the entrance door. Here comes Mercedes. Michael smiles. The period begins. Mark Michaels is just, you can't get a shot past him. He's blocking, he's snatching, he's covering up. His defense is just jumped up to like Super Saiyan levels. It's crazy. It cuts back to the entrance doors. All the while, that song, Your Man by Joji, is playing. It is incredibly deep. It's kind of emotional. I felt a lot of emotion, with that going on. But we cut back to the doors, entrance. Here come the 2 girlfriends, Dolo and Goody, and they both see him. Goody takes the ice, comes around, slaps a beautiful shot to the top left corner of the net. Dolo comes around, gets fed a shot, and he just slaps it in hard. The Bulldogs go up 2-4. Next thing you know, we see the clock wind down to the last buzzer. Bulldogs did it. Bulldogs won 24 games in a row. They are the best team ever for a comedy show about hockey. Wow, it was exhilarating, emotional, really just all around. Holy frack, it was great. The show ends with, as we did with season 1, Nat and Shoresy. A couple days later, Shoresy's, how you feeling, Shoresy? Well, I'm still hungover. She tells them, well, you know what? You know how we were trying to make that bid for the national tournament? And Shoresy's like, oh yeah, weren't you guys at like 40 grand? You needed 50, so you're 10 grand short. She tells Shoresy, because of the stunt that the Sue Hunt from Michigan pulled, whatever the Bulldogs magic they had, it transformed some of the Sue Hunts. A lot of the folks who were in attendance, they bought enough calendars. They got the 50 grand. They're going to host the national tournament. Shoresy is just looking incredulous. Nat just goes, well, aren't you going to say something? Shoresy just looks at her and simply says,
Let's set the fucking tone!
So that's a wrap for Shoresy season 2. I mean, it was such an incredible journey, scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of a team and their standings and what possible hope do they have to seeing in season 2. Not only did they come all the way back from that in season 1, they won the tournament, came into the next season and just absolutely dominated, going for a perfect season. Each team they faced, it wasn't an easy battle. The trials and tribulations, the quips, tricks, and chirping that goes along, the personal challenges, everything was so well done. Hats off to Jared Keeso, Jacob Tierney for the writing and the directing and putting it together. Huge props to the musical department. The music within this season, within some of these episodes, again, it was like, that hidden actor, whether it's going to hype you up, to kind of hit you in the emotionals, bringing out energy within you as the viewer. At least for me, that's exactly what happened. The hockey season 2 was almost mind-blowing compared to what season 1 was. Season 1 was definitely the foundation by which this series cemented its success. Season 2 was definitely the scaffolding to which the rest of this series is going to be built. In season 3, we get to see what happens as they host the national tournament. The best teams from Canada and the US are coming to Sudbury. Season 2 of Shoresy on so many levels, so much more than what I was expecting when I remember sitting down with my son, because he and I, huge fans of this show, huge fans of Letterkenny, huge fans of Keeso. This blew away what we were expecting. We had no idea just how amazing this season 2 was going to be. With that, Shoresy, it's on Hulu. Do the free, sit through the commercials. Don't give Disney their money until they learn their ways. I'll be working on another episode to discuss season 3 and season 4. And we will, hopefully be able to do some live reactions to season 5. At least that's my plan, because I can't wait to see what happens there. So with all of that said, again, thank you for stopping by. It is truly most appreciated. That said, let's talk about a few other podcast friends and family members that stop on by, visit them, take a listen. They got some really good things going on. First up is Not a Bomb Podcast with my good buddy Troy and my buddy Brad. They just dropped an episode on Radioland murders. They're always, these guys are amazing. Watch Skip Plus with our buddies Jose, Mike the Wildebeest. They just dropped an episode, One Battle After another Paul Thomas Anderson movie starring DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro. Heard a lot of great things about it. I still have to go check it out, but it's a great episode. Stop on by. They also have a YouTube channel. Next, we have The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema with Samurai and Will. You guys are always just delivering. Caliber 9 from Outer Space with Rob and Joe. Awesome duo. Man, I don't know how they do it. Raiders of the Podcast with Tyler, Dave, Craig, and Kevin. Wow, they're like the boys from Shoresy, right? These guys, right? Man, they set the tone. Death by DVD with Harry Scott Sullivan. Yes, he is on a hiatus still, but however, he's got a really good catalog. And I want to make a special shout out to somebody, correct me if I'm wrong. This is probably the longest running podcast around. Met these guys out in Cincinnati. We're going to be seeing one of their members out here in a couple weeks for the Dismember the Alamo movie event down in DC, Andy. And this podcast is Night of the Living Podcast. They're panelists down there at the Horror Hound Convention in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Andy he's a great guy, and we'll be seeing him in a couple weeks. If you're curious, Dismember the Alamo, the basic premise is it's an all-day event. You get to the movie theater at the Alamo Draft House in DC. You don't know what you're going to watch. It's a mystery. Let's just put it this way. Some of the lineups are stuff like Night of the Comet, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, down to 30 minutes of camcorder trailers for homemade horror movies. And holy, wow, that tested my patience. But yeah, we're going to be seeing them again. Night of the Living podcast, oldest one around. Take a listen. Thank you again so much for stopping by, giving us a watch and listen. Again, please give us a like, share it. That would mean the world to us. And stop on by for our next episode. I believe we're going to try and talk about comic books. And again, I am prepping up something for the Baltimore Comic Con. Give some insight to you folks who aren't able to attend or who have attended. Maybe we'll catch you around there. Until the next time, again, be kind to one another. Y'all gotta take care. Go check out Shoresy Season 1 and Season 2.